Hi, my name is Tanner Young, and this is my application project for HDF201. The title of my project is Bottle versus Breast because the topic today is breastfeeding or bottle feeding children under 12 months. This is relating to the course because we've talked about the developmental impacts between children who grew up bottle feeding versus breastfeeding and how that affects the development of children. And the intended audience is new parents or someone who has a new baby in their life. I like to do something while I talk, so I'm going to be stoning this shoe, this high heel. So that's what I'm going to be doing as I'm talking, but I'm just going to be giving you the pros and cons of breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. Are there any? Is one better than the other? That's what we're trying to answer today, and I hope you leave knowing a little bit more about breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. So first, just to get it out of the way, there really is no right or wrong way versus bottle feeding or breastfeeding. Both are completely safe and healthy options for babies. Each have their own, advantages and disadvantages. So we're just gonna go over that. And, I'm not really gonna tell you one way or another which one you should do, but I hope that I can give you some information so then you can more accurately make a choice of whether you want to bottle feed or breastfeed your baby. So first, let's talk about breast milk and what that is and why people prefer it. So first, and probably the most obvious, is breastfeeding is a way cheaper alternative to formula, regular formula that you might buy. It's also a lot more convenient, obviously, for the mother. It's just a lot easier than having to, you don't have to make a bottle. You also don't have to purchase the formula. It's a lot cheaper. It's easier. Additionally, breast milk also provides your infant with antibodies, like really good antibodies, that can help them resist infections, which is really important because babies' immune systems are super, super fragile. Additionally, breastfed babies are less likely to develop asthma later in life and diabetes. Just some other advantages of breastfeeding. There isn't preparation time. I mean, anyone who's had to feed a baby before, they know they have to, make the bottle, make sure that's the right temperature, make sure the formula is actually dissolved into the milk. It's kind of a whole process, but with breastfeeding, it comes out naturally. It comes out right at the perfect temperature for the baby as well. There's a lot less planning involved compared to a bottle. Now, when it comes to bottle feeding and maybe some advantages you might find there, really the hardest part about breastfeeding and the most difficult for most mothers and even just for families is if the mother isn't present, then the baby can't eat, which can be kind of a problem, especially if the mother is working or let's say maybe the dad is the stay-at-home dad who takes care of the baby, then the mother would have to, pump ahead of time and save the breast milk over time, which can be, frustrating compared to, a formula in a bottle. No matter who's with the kid, whether it's a babysitter, a grandparent, no matter what, they're always going to be able to eat. But with breastfeeding, it can be a bit more complicated. Also, there was a study done that, compared mothers who breastfed versus mothers who bottle fed exclusively, and also mothers who did both. They wanted to see the difference between how long and how much milk they would drink compared to bottle feeding versus breastfeeding, and they actually found that there's no significant difference between if a baby is drinking out of a bottle versus from the breast. That they are likely to eat around the same amount and for about the same amount of time. But it is noted that babies who drink out of bottles are significantly more likely to experience rapid weight gain in infancy, which, isn't that big of a deal, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind. But what I found was interesting when looking at that report was only 8% of infants in the U.S. are strictly breastfed, even though some people consider it the gold standard of feeding. while about 16% of infants in the US are exclusively bottle fed, which means the rest of the infants, which is about 75%, are somewhere in between, where they, at least breastfeed a little bit or bottle feed a little bit. There are some downsides to breastfeeding, unfortunately. Sometimes babies can't tolerate can't tolerate formula, and it can give them diarrhea or other gastrointestinal issues. Of course, not every baby is like this, and sometimes babies just have it and sometimes babies are just sensitive to it for a week, and then they're fine and they get used to it. But it can pose kind of a problem, especially maybe if a baby is more prone to issues like that. Bottle feeding can kind of exacerbate those issues. Also, even stepping away from the scientific side of it, just the convenience or the inconvenience of having to carry around everything that you need for a bottle. So carrying around formula, clean bottles, nips, and you have to have some place that you can warm it up, and that can be hard. That can be hard for some people to always have, and sometimes there are formula recalls, and you can't really do anything about that, and you just don't know, because somebody else is producing what you're giving to your baby, versus breastfeeding, it's coming out of your body, so you know where it's coming from. Also, it's really hard for companies to get the exact nutrition levels to be able to mimic breastfeeding, just because we aren't completely sure what's in breast milk. It changes over time, and since we don't quite know exactly how to nail how to formulate formula that's breast milk it just means that babies aren't going to be getting everything they need all the time, just because their needs change so much. Formula is just not able to adapt like that, and companies can't make formula that can give every baby everything they need, which can be a problem. We looked at disadvantages of bottle feeding, so let's talk about some of the disadvantages of breastfeeding. Not every mom is able to breastfeed their baby all the time when they need it, which can be very, very stressful, especially for a mom who is possibly having postpartum depression. If a mother is on a certain type of medication for something, that can really interfere with their breast milk, and which means that they won't be able to produce milk. Well, so sometimes that means that they're not able to produce breast milk at all, or that means that the breast milk that they do produce, the baby cannot have. It affects the formula too much. Also, with breastfeeding, sometimes it's just plain uncomfortable for women to have to do it. It doesn't feel good. Babies are mean, they bite, you know what I'm saying? So not every mother is really comfortable with breastfeeding, which is okay, and that's their personal choice. And also, not every mother is able to produce breast milk or enough breast milk to support her kid. So that's why it's super important to, kind of think about everything all at once when it comes to bottle feeding versus breastfeeding, and why I kind of dislike the idea of, breastfeeding has to be the way that you do it, because to me it's kind of like saying that being pregnant is like the golden standard to have a kid, which really I just think that's unfair to women who can't get pregnant. That's not fair, or women who have a really, really low chance of getting pregnant. I just think that saying one way is the best way, and that anyone else who can't do it is doing it wrong, that's not cool. So really, I think it just comes down to personal choice. If you are struggling with money with your kid, if you're in a different financial situation, if you're not able to breastfeed, I think no matter what, it comes down to just the personal choice of the mother and you. What you want to do with your kid and what you want to give them. Because I totally think formula is a super great option for mothers who can't breastfeed, mothers who can't breastfeed all the time, babies who aren't around their mothers all the time. And there's nothing wrong with using breast milk and bottle milk. It's totally fine. So while yes, it's important to know the pros and cons of everything, it's also okay to acknowledge that both are completely normal, safe options for your baby. So whether you choose the breast or the bottle, I hope that you've learned something today. And we got so much done with the shoe. The shoe is starting to look so good. Love it. Thank you. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned something. Thank you.